Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Nick Tan Chats, my magic and mostly mentalism review show. My name is Nick Tan, and on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about Paperwork Volume 1 by Scott Creasey over at the 1914. So hi again guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for showing up, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for spending some time with me today. Today I'll be talking to you guys about something called Paperwork. Okay, now this is going to be split up into two episodes because Paperwork is actually a 2-volume project by Scott Creasey over at the 1914, and it covers billet work. And this has been quite a highly requested episode actually, because I've received numerous emails, messages as well, on social media telling me that, I really want to hear your opinion on this project, right? And, even without, all of your messages and your emails, this is something that I would have gotten down to looking at anyway, okay? Because if you know me, if you've watched my channel for some time, you will know that I'm a big fan, of the thinking, of the mentalism of Scott Creasey. And so when I first learned that, he was going to be doing a project with the 1914, I was terribly excited. I've done quite a number of reviews for Scott on my channel, for some of his books. And also, Scott has been really generous with me, with his time, with his knowledge, and sharing his experience with me over messages and emails as well. And I really actually do thank him, for kind of giving me a new perspective, all right, in the whole, really showy, show business kind of mentalism that I tend to do. He was one of the characters, the people in my life that has really kind of pulled me back, all right, a little bit, to what believable mentalism and effective mentalism is all about. So on Paperwork Volume 1, Scott will actually be discussing with you his ideas and his routines, his techniques as well, on billets that are open, all right? Open billets, meaning billets that aren't folded. Many of the people who've kind of emailed me and asked me about this particular project, they all want to know the same thing, because many of us are fans of Scott Creasey, and we would like to know if, this particular project, Paperwork, how much overlap is there, right, in the material taught versus the material that, Scott has written about in his books. There is, well, some overlap, I suppose, but it's great to see Scott actually doing, the moves, right, in a, professionally shot studio such as the 1914, and I will get to, where you can find some of these ideas in his books as well. So as I mentioned, Paperwork Volume 1 deals with open billets, and on this project, Scott will give you an introduction to the whole project itself. He'll talk about, the choice of billets, the psychology behind open billets, his approach towards minimalistic mentalism, and then he will discuss with you some routines and techniques as well that he uses for his own performances. There will be some really deceptive peaks that are taught here as well, something called the DPT peak, all right, that is abbreviated to protect the method, something called the minimalist peak as well, and he will give you some applications in the form of name and place. Scott will also give you versions of fourth dimensional telepathy that you can perform close-up as well as on stage. There will be something called the bookless book test, a mental epic style routine. And then Scott will also discuss a Q&A that you can perform with just a small stack of business cards straight out of your pockets. So the long story short, right, if you love billet work, and if you do consider yourself a student of mentalism, and if you are a fan of Scott Creasey, just get this. All right, seriously, just get this. I promise you, you won't regret it. Even someone who is well versed in billet work, I think, and I do consider myself, quite a heavy billet worker because of the kind of shows that I do, and even having Scott's books, right, having read his books and studied them, I found value in the material that is covered as well. So let's talk a bit about the kind of props that you will need, to perform the routines that are taught. There are two kinds of billets, that I currently use. This is one which is basically just blank, cardstock. I buy 1,000 at a time, and then it's just wrapped around with a little rubber band. I mean, you can use any rubber band, all right, but this is something that I have loads of because I use them to actually tie my hair. And then there is another stack that I use for close-up as well, and this is just something that I've put together, all right? Just black on the back, and then on the front as well, just space for people to write stuff or draw, you know, pictures and things like that. The design of which is mainly from Luch, all right? If you have his project called Frameworks, okay, this is something that I use to perform a bit of that routine as well. Although currently I do perform Scott Creasey's open billet Q&A, all right, using this stack over here. So that's all that you need actually, just a couple of you know, cards, all right, for you to write on, rubber bands. Okay, the rubber band does play an important part in, you know, the kind of handlings that Scott prefers, and of course just Sharpies, a couple of Sharpies, and you are really good to perform any of the material that is covered on this project. So as I discussed earlier, you know, Scott will give you a bit of background about his thoughts about billet work, you know, and how making things, you know, minimalist, you know, adds to the believability of mentalism. Now, these are concepts that Scott is well known for, you know, and he's written about them extensively, all right, in all of his books. So, you know, when he was discussing this on this project, it was not new to me. You know, I really understood the kind of, you know, approach that he takes when he deals with performing with billets. But, you know, we all want to learn routines and moves, right? And peaks. You know, we can never have too many peaks, right? So let's talk about some of the peaks that you will learn on this project. There is something called this is again abbreviated to kind of protect the method, something called the DPT move or peak. Okay, and this is a really practical peak to know. It is done just entirely with just this, all right, just a stack of business cards. In essence, what happens is you have the spectator, you know, you turn your head, you have the spectator make a drawing. That drawing is sandwiched inside this stack of cards and a rubber band is wrapped around it, all right? And then from here, yeah, something else happens, obviously, but you will be able to get the information at any point in the routine, and the move is also highly motivated. Okay, so it is perfectly justified in why you are handling the packet. Okay, and what I love about this DPT as well is at the end, okay, you know, the cleanup for the move is just beautiful. All right, because, you know, there have been many ways that people have tried to come up with, you know, myself included, you know, with various, like, you know, shifts and passes and cowls and things like that to kind of clean up the ending. But I've really loved this cleanup that Scott does. Two versions of the DPT will be taught, one that is done with double blank cards like this, and another, all right, which is a slight kind of variant, okay, a slight handling change for you to use business cards, all right, with, you know, cards with printing on one side and blank on the other. It's really simple, and with this system alone, I think you are set already to perform a multitude of mind-reading effects. So some time ago, you know, at various online lectures that I've done, you know, for example, there's My Invention X, you know, and I've also shared this privately amongst some friends as well, something called the decoy peak. Okay, so the decoy peak was my handling, you know, or my version of something that Scott Creasey released some time ago called the sandwich peak. I really loved the concept of the sandwich peak. Many people have subsequently asked me to talk about this, and my answer to you guys now is, you know, forget the decoy peak, okay, because Scott actually has something on this project called the minimalist peak. It is, well, it is similar in approach to what I've done. However, Scott has a more direct way, okay, to get into the peak, and the way he gets out of it as well is just so simple, and it's just really lovely, all right? And in fact, the way I do it, it tends to be a bit more movie, you know, more sleight of handish, I think, you know, but I think I will actually be using Scott's handling from now on as well. So what happens in this peak is that, you know, the spectator, they make their drawing or they put their thought on a piece of card again. In effect, all right, the card is then placed in the middle, all right, reversed in a pack of cards like that, and you can spread the deck and show that their card is there, and then you spread the cards, you place it down, or you can wrap a rubber band around it, and from there you are done. all right, you have the information already, all right? So it's a really deceptive peek. I really love this a lot. With the minimalist peek, you know, Scott will teach you a handling of name and place, all right, that can be performed close up just using the minimalist peek alone, all right? So again, because of how deceptive the peek is, plus another concept that, another principle, you know, that Scott uses, I think the routine becomes really, really deceptive. And then Scott will discuss two handlings of fourth dimensional telepathy, all right, 4DT, the 3-envelope test, one that is performed for close-up and one that is performed for stage. The close-up version, I believe it appeared in multi-dimensional Q&A as something called Three's a Crowd, I believe, all right? So that handling does appear here. I do believe it is quite similar, or probably exactly the same. Scott has combined, you know, a bit of psychometry as well, all right, to sense whose card is whose, and he has combined it with the 4DT kind of a concept, right, with 3 people and 3 thoughts. So again, that routine is so simple to perform. All right, Scott has really just stripped it down to its bare minimum, and the routine is just performed with 6 of these cards. All right, so all you need to do is to have 6 blank cards with you. There's no get ready, a Sharpie, 6 of these cards, and you can perform, you know, this handling of 4DT up close. So the stage or cabaret version of 4DT also just uses 6 of these blank cards along with a writing implement of some kind. Scott has actually published something similar, all right, different but similar, in the first volume, okay, of the Minimalistic Metaphysical Mentalism book. I believe in there it is called third or 3-dimensional telepathy. Okay, so that one uses like a stack of cards, but in this version it's teaching you just uses, you know, 6 cards. Again, there's no get ready, nothing to set up, just 6 cards and with, you know, just a Sharpie, and you're ready to perform this on stage. There is a bookless book test that will be taught as well, using again just a stack of these cards. And I think this discusses something that Scott has put out again previously, called the retrospect prophecy, or the retrospective prophecy. I'm not sure of the exact phrasing, but he has discussed this before. And this routine, I do believe, appears in volume 2, all right, of his Triple M series. Okay, so this routine is there, but it's great to see Scott, you know, just doing it and teaching it and performing it as well. And then, of course, no Scott Creasey project is complete without Q&A. Right? So in this project, he will teach you something called the Open Billet Q&A, which appears in his multi-dimensional Q&A book. It is really simple to perform. It is performed with just a stack of these cards, you know, no rubber band, just a stack of like 10 or 15 of these cards, and you can perform a Q&A routine with no envelopes, no folding of cards, you know, nothing like that. On stage, all right, and this routine will work for, you know, audiences of up to like, you know, 20 to 50 people perhaps. So that's it, you know, that's the material that Scott will cover on this volume 1, you know, project of paperwork. And well, I think overall, you know, even if you are familiar with Scott Creasey's work, it's great to just watch Scott in action, you know, teaching his stuff. And I'm really glad, actually, on a personal level, you know, that his material is now like on video as well, you know, because I see his teachings as something of a legacy, you know, and he's really just an important part of the whole you know, teaching and approach of billet work, right? So I'm really happy to see Scott's work on video. If you're new to the work of Scott Creasey, even more reason for you to get this, you know, because I think this is a great introduction to really practical, you know, solid billet work that I believe, all right, you will use. The only thing that will be difficult, I think, for some of you is that Scott Creasey's work has a really strong psychic flavor. Okay, so, you know, he deals with a lot of, you know, things like birthdays, star signs, and a lot of readings, right? You know, with tarot and things like that. So if you're not familiar with those concepts, you do have to kind of learn them. But Scott will give you, there is a section actually on this video that he will have 3 examples, all right, of some questions and how he answers them in a Q&A setting, all right, using his approach with tarot as an external oracle. And this is something that I have adopted as well, actually. You know, in my past few performances of Q&A, you know, it has gone down really well. You know, for some reason, you know, with an external oracle, you become more confident. when answering questions. And I think having a system like that, gives you, more confidence, not only to perform, but during your performance, you actually have content, to give to people, right? To kind of inspire your reading. So I think it's a really great approach. But you do have to learn all these things, by yourself, right? Before you kind of apply them to the mechanical methods that Scott teaches you on this project. But all in, again, well worth getting. I cannot recommend this project enough. If you are a student of mentalism, you love billet work, just get this, okay? And I think you can actually purchase volume 1 and 2 together, or, as separate purchases as well. In all honesty, all right, I would have bought this myself. This is, a review copy, but I really would have bought this myself, all right, because I buy everything that Scott releases, okay? So, but yeah, I want to thank D. Christopher over at the 1914 for letting me, have a look at the paperwork project so that I can chat about it, learn about it, learn the material on it, and share it with you guys on this show as well. Okay, so if you want to have a look at Paperwork Volume 1, I will leave the link in the description box down below. Coming up in the next episode, I will be having a look at Paperwork Volume 2. I intend to start watching it sometime today. That one deals with folded billets, okay, and billet switches and things like that. So again, really interesting stuff, and I cannot wait to get started on it, okay? But until the next episode, guys, thanks for watching today. Do stay safe, take care of yourselves, have fun with your magic and your mentalism, and I will see you on the next episode.